Dead Man Walking speaks of faith, redemption, and the bonds of family as seen through the eyes of Sister Helen, who establishes a unique relationship with an inmate on death row at a Louisiana state penitentiary. Her book struck a chord with an international audience, having been translated into 10 different languages. It was at the top of the New York Times bestseller list for 31 weeks and was adapted into a successful film of the same name, starring Susan Sarandon, who won an Academy Award for her portrayal of Sister Helen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Dead Man Walking.
The faith of my youth is the faith of my future. But never in my youth could have imagined where my faith would take me. As a young nun, it was simple. What counted was a personal relationship with God, inner peace, kindness to others, and heaven when life is done. In 1980, my religious community, the Sisters of St. Joseph, made a commitment to stand on the side of the poor. I had went along, but reluctantly. I didn't want to have to deal with politics or economics. We were nuns, after all, not social workers. Even Jesus Christ himself had said, "The poor you will always have with you." But that all changed in June 1980, when some glaring injustices were pointed out to me by a sociologist, Sister Marie Augusta Neal. The poor aren't there magically. The poor are poor as a result of specific business decisions, specific oppression, specific greed.
To be apolitical in the face of these injustices is to stick to the status quo a very political position to take. To not actively fight against these injustices is to actively condone it. Jesus preached good news to the poor, that they were to be poor no longer.
Which meant that the poor were not meant to accept their poverty and suffering as God's will, but instead struggled to obtain the necessities of life, which were rightfully theirs. Sister Neil viewed Jesus as a social visionary, an activist, what we might call a radical today. And we sisters of the Catholic Church, had an obligation to carry on that activism, that advocacy for the poor. Something inside of me must have been building towards this moment, because there was a flash, a revelation, an epiphany, if you will, and I walked out of my meeting with Sister Neil forever changed, never to look back. 1 year later, I was living in the St. Thomas housing community in New Orleans, Louisiana. We worked in a place called Hope House, which did lots of things, from distributing food to running daycare centers to tutoring. We shared the place with a group that worked with prisoners. I tutored the high school students.
How can x times y equal z? They're letters. No one told me you could multiply letters.
They're concepts. They represent numbers.
Well, by the head.
X and Y represent the sides of a triangle. They're not hiding.
It's the formula to find the distance of z.
Looks like they're just hiding to me.
That's right.
All right, girls, back to work.
Sister Prejean, got a second?
Yeah,
Listen, sister, I've got this fella, death row inmate. He could really use a pen pal, but he doesn't have anyone. I was thinking, maybe you could write to him.
sure.
His name is Matthew Poncelet. He's in for murder. Maybe I ought to give you someone else. This guy is a loner and doesn't write back. Maybe you want someone who'll answer your letters.
Nah, don't change it. Give him to me.
He's from Slidell, Louisiana. I've got more files at the office if you want to read about the case.
I didn't know much about the death penalty at this point, but I did know enough to assume that anyone occupying a cell on Louisiana's death row did not come from money. So I saw getting involved with this as a logical extension of my work with the poor. After my struggles with Hanny and the girls in algebra, I met with Lois Montoya.
All right, papers. I'll take, oh, okay. Thank you, I'll take your papers. All right, now be careful out there. I'm serious. God, keep
Girls,
them
be
safe.
careful!
Wait for me.
This lawyer I have, I don't know what he's all doing for me, because I hardly ever see him. Can you help me?
Of course, none of the guys in death row can afford to hire their own attorneys for their appeals. So you can imagine the frantic telephone calls we get at the office from the guys begging us to find them attorneys.
Well, free of charge.
That's right. These petitions take hours, days to prepare. Attorneys aren't exactly lining up outside this door for the job.
That evening, I wrote Matthew Poncelet, prisoner 18375 at Angola Prison's death row. I told him about myself, my family, the neighborhood I lived in. As I lay in bed that evening, I heard gunshots, and I wondered who had gotten sucked into the violence tonight in St. Thomas Project. What child would be missing from school the next day? Which mother's wail would pierce the night?
Since 1973, 158 black defendants have been executed for the murder of a white victim. In that same time, only 11 white defendants have been executed for the murder of a black victim.
2 weeks later, a letter arrived.
Dear Sister Prejean, thank you for writing to me. I'm writing to you from my home, my 6 by 8 foot cell. I'm in here 23 hours a day. We're special here. They keep us away from the general population of the prison. We're the elite because we're gonna fry. And ma'am, it's hard not to get soft in this cell. I lift my foot locker, try and keep my muscles in shape, but it's hard with all the rice, potatoes, pancakes, and beans they give us. Sometimes I feel like a sow on a farm, getting fattened up for a Christmas slaughter. And you probably think I'm crazy to have dreams like this, but I had one once. God started rolling me around in breadcrumbs, licking his chops and all like he was about to fry me. That's fine that you think I'm crazy. Because your brain, it does weird things when you're surrounded by people that want to kill you. Anyways, thanks for your letter. I don't get many visitors either. I understand. My family can't make the trip from Slidell. It's a long way.
Good morning, sister.
Good morning, Father.
Have you ever been in a prison before?
No. Oh, but one time, Sister Clement and I, we sang at a juvenile detention center in New Orleans. We sang Kumbaya with the boys, and they seemed to really like it. They started coming up with their own verses, singing, "Someone's escaping, my Lord, Kumbaya." The guards made us pick a different song.
Where's your habit?
Oh, well, our sisters haven't worn the habit in 20 years.
Well, you are aware of the papal request regarding nuns' garments, aren't you?
The Pope said distinctive clothing, not habits.
Well, I'm sure you'll interpret it in your own way, whatever's convenient. Matthew Poncelet. I remember him from the news. He and another fellow shot 2 children in the back of the head in Lover's Lane. Raped the girl, stabbed her several times. You know what you're getting into? What is this, sister? Morbid fascination? Bleeding heart sympathy?
No, he wrote me and asked me to come.
There is no romance here, sister. No Jimmy Cagney, I've been wrongly accused, if only someone would believe in me nonsense. These are con men, and they'll take advantage of you every way they can. You must be very careful. You understand?
Yes, Father.
These men don't see many females. Wearing the habit would instill respect. For you to flout authority will only encourage them to do the same.
What am I getting myself into? Hi, Matthew. I made it.
Hello, man. I never thought I'd be visiting with no nun. You are a nun, right?
Yes. I want you to know, Matthew, that I'm here to listen and we can talk about whatever you'd like.
You're very sincere.
What do you mean?
You've never done this before.
No,
Never been this close to a murder before.
not that I know of.
You live in St. Thomas Projects. Lots of niggas around there shooting each other off like beer cans on a fence. You know, when I first got your letter and I saw Helen on it, I thought it was my first ex-old lady. I almost ripped it up. She called the sheriff, told him where to find me, even orphaned our kid. That stupid bitch.
You have a kid,
Yeah, con with a kid.
boy or girl?
It's a girl.
And what's her name?
You have a lot of questions about me, don't you?
Well, I don't know you.
Never mind. Do I scare you? You said in your letter, you work with poor people, and your daddy was a lawyer, and that you come from money?
Some.
I don't get that. I don't know who's more crazy, you or me.
I live where I work.
In a slum?
Well, what about you?
I live right here.
Did you grow up poor?
Shit. Nobody for money on the road.
Well, then you and I have something in common.
And what's that?
We both live with the poor.
Ain't you gonna ask me what I did?
The chaplain filled me in.
Such a religious man. I didn't do nothing. Carl went crazy on me.
Who's Carl?
Botello, he's the one who should be sitting here. I was just going along with him, holding that boy back like he said, but he killed him. After it happened, we was running through the bramble and all, and I couldn't find the truck.
You watched him kill these kids?
Ma'am, truth is, I was loaded on downs, acid, even booze. I hadn't even slept in 2 nights. It's all a blur, but I know I didn't kill nobody. I swear to God I did. Allie.
Allie.
It's a name. I seen her once when I got out of prison before.
She's cute. And when was that?
First time I got out of Marion, I went down to my old lady's place in Brooksbridge. And there was this little girl playing in the front yard. And I pick her up and I tell her, I'm your daddy. And her mama started pointing a gun at me. Called the cops. Thought I was a kidnapper or something, I guess. Anyway, she sees it's me, puts down the gun, then she starts making rude remarks on how I'm a conning on front of the kid. And I got real mad, bust up some furniture, chop, chop, right back to jail.
Well, do you write to her?
When my dumbass girlfriend called the cops, they didn't think too much of her. Found some dope in the house, took the kid away. I don't know where she is. I think she's got foster parents somewhere in Texas.
Wrap it up, sister.
Look, they're about to go on a killing spree. Zapping this dude Tobias tonight, and the guard's been taking bets on who's next. And I'm not even honest. It's not good. The way I see it, I got two ways to go. Federal appeals court and the pardon board hearing. I can write the motion and all, I just need somebody to file it.
What, are you a lawyer?
When your back is against the wall, let's just say you have special motivation. I've been in here 6 years, reading and studying every law book I can get my hands onto. But I shouldn't even worry, because you ain't even coming back.
No, I was just... Are these your only copies?
I got my own. But if you ain't coming back, I ain't gonna waste them on you.
I'll look them over, and I appreciate your trust.
I'll tell you what, man. I don't trust nobody around here. You got guts. You live in a neighborhood where every nigger has a gun. Y'all are right. You didn't come here kissing my ass, preaching brimstone and hellfire either. Anyways, thank you for your visit.
No trouble.
And man, be careful out there. People are crazy.
When I was 8 years old, I joined a group of neighborhood kids and beat a possum to death. We held sticks and beat it until it was bloody. I remember being racked with guilt, and the image of that possum lying there haunted my dreams for months. I don't know what possessed us that day. Was it that we didn't want to be tricked by an animal playing possum? Were we tapping into something primitive in this violence? Did we feel so powerless as children that we needed to feel ultimate power? I hadn't thought about that possum until I dreamed about it the evening of my first meeting with Matthew Poncelet.
Hi, Helen. Bad dream?
Strange, yes.
You've been to the country, huh, girl?
Another planet.
All right, listen, we have some bad news. Hanny was shot. She's fine. Okay, she's not fine, really. It was in the leg. She's going to limp. Her mother's crushed.
Dear Lord.
And you know her shooting wasn't in the news?
Really?
We called all the stations, the newspapers too. No one came.
Well, I guess a teenager getting shot isn't news these days.
Unless he's white.
Well, then it's front page. Is Hanny home?
Oh, we'll go see her tomorrow.
Have you called her yet?
Oh, nope, I gotta do this.
In 1980, there were 500,000 Americans behind bars. In 1990, 1.1 million. And in 2000, 2 million.
So, Poncelet claims that Vitello killed them both. Y'all think he's lying?
Vitello accuses Poncelet, but both say the other did the actual killing. Somebody's lying to somebody.
But how is it that one man gets life and the other death?
The state only goes after death in 1 out of 50 cases.
Why's that?
Costs too much. Costs $2 million to kill a man, $500,000 to keep him in for life. The state probably had a better case against Poncelet, or Vitello had a better lawyer and was able to create doubt in the jury's mind.
Wait, and Vitello gets life. Poncelet death?
Yep.
Bad luck.
He needs help, Helen. I know a lawyer by the name of Helton Barber. She's aware of the case, but told me no. Maybe you could change her mind.
With the aim of getting him a new trial? What if he would get off? I'm not sure I want to run into this guy at the Piggly Wiggly.
He's not gonna get off. He was there. He was an accomplice, and that's life. Life sentences in Louisiana are for real. We're just trying to keep the state from killing him. Listen, you want out. That's okay with me. You don't have to go back there.
No, I would like to read more about it.
I've got more files. I'll give you those.
Hey, Lois, do you know if Hope Percy was an only child?
What?
I'm just thinking about her mama and daddy. God, how do they lay their heads on their pillow at night knowing what happened to their daughter? Matt's file was a grim and unimaginable trip through an unending nightmare. The depths of the depravity stunned me. A vicious, violent act, grief-stricken parents, and unbelievable arrogance on the part of the accused murderers. We read through it, stunned.
Last Friday night, Walter Delacroix, age 17, and Hope Percy, age 18, were just two happy people celebrating one of life's turning points.
The couple had been shot twice at close range with a .22 caliber rifle. In addition to murder charges, Poncelet and Vitello each faced 6 accounts of aggravated kidnapping and 1 account of aggravated rape.
In the 4 weeks preceding the murders, the two accused men allegedly cut a wide path of terror across the area, attacking several teenage couples in local lovers' lanes.
Poncelet and Patillo, posing as security guards, would handcuff the men and molest the women. Most couples were too ashamed to come forward. A police spokesman said today that in the wake of the killing, a few couples have courageously revealed what happened to them and identified Poncelet and Patillo as the assailants.
Drew his hand menacingly like a knife across his chest when Joseph Dunham appeared in the courtroom.
When Dunham's girlfriend appeared, a young woman Poncelet had raped, he winked and blew her a kiss.
Poncelet addressed the judges, Cap, and smirked when the jury found him guilty of murder here today.
And told his weeping mother to, quote,
Dry up.
I wondered about the parents, condemned to wonder for the rest of their lives what happened on their child's last tortured hours, continually startled out of their sleep by dreams of the terror that ripped their children from them.
The execution, which was originally scheduled for midnight, was dramatically halted as Tobias approached the chair. Tobias was returned to his cell, where he waited for an hour while legal questioning was being discussed. At 1 a.m., the convicted murderer was removed from his cell and brought once again to the electric chair where he was executed. Tobias was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. Tobias would be one of the last to die in gruesome Gertie, the state's electric chair. The 2 executions scheduled in the next 5 weeks will usher in the use of lethal injection in the state of Louisiana. Zap! Good night, Mr. Tobias. Guess you shouldn't have messed around in the state of Louisiana. This is ACCU.
This is Brenda
Radio
Johnson,
News.
Channel 7.
This is Jackie
Back to you,
Cooper.
Phil.
This is Sarah
Live,
Smith with
CNN.
Channel
And a
23
special
News.
edition channel.
Catherine Stockett, ABC News.
Good night.
The next day, I found out that one of the unnamed inmates that would usher in the new use of a more humane method of execution turned out to be Matt.
I didn't know who to call. I know I'm on death row and all, but the guy's been here for years. They set a date. They're going to kill me. I can write the motion off for the pardon board hearing, but they just keep telling me no lawyer, no hearing.
Okay, Matthew, keep your cool. I have this lawyer that might be able to help you. I'll see what I can do.
Sister, you got to come through for me. You all I got. They got me on a grease rail to the death house. You ain't fading out on me, are you, sis?
I will get you that lawyer. Try not to worry.
Between 1980 and 1990, the federal government cut its contribution to education by 25%, while increasing its allocation to criminal justice by 29%.
His lawyer was Bush League, an amateur. Met Poncelet the day before his trial. Jury selection took 8 hours, and the trial lasted 3 days. His lawyer raised one objection this entire trial. It's not a fluke that 99% of death row inmates are poor. They get the kind of defense they pay for. How long have you been doing this, sister?
This?
Counseling death row inmates.
Oh, no, I'm not counseling him. I barely know him, and I've only met him once.
Well, What's your impression?
I don't know if I like him, but he does need help, and the best way I can figure is to bring you to him.
We'll do our best. The legal system is a series of gates that shut like one-way turnstiles, and you can't go back once you've come out.
If the trial attorney does not raise an issue or make an objection during the trial, the higher courts say the defendant has waived his right to raise the issue later on.
Imagine that. There are cases where defense attorneys in capital cases have actually shown up for trial drunk or so ill-prepared that they told the judge they didn't know what they were doing. Even then, the appeals court wouldn't grant a new trial.
Since 1973, 2/3 of all death row penalty trials which completed the appeal process were found to have serious errors requiring its reversal.
This is from Poncelet's inmate account. Here's the receipt.
They need cigarettes and coffee. I think smoking is bad, but if you're gonna die prematurely anyway, why not take the edge off?
And the day before Governor Frederick says she's running for re-election. Surprise. A big meeting with lots of press, setting a date for my execution, just to show how tough she is on crime.
I agree with you, Matt. Politics did play a big part in this decision, but the pardon board is not the place to bring this up.
Why?
Because it's full of political appointees, the governor's appointees, and the last thing they want is some convicted killer telling them that they're wrong. What we have to do, Matt, is to present you as a human being and convince them to spare your life.
What we have to do is prove I'm innocent.
We'll get to that. We're filing appeals in the federal and the Supreme Court, but this is the pardon board. Don't mean to think to them if you pulled the trigger or not. They're thinking of the crime and you as the monster. It's easy to kill a monster, but it's hard to kill a human being. Your mama should be at this hearing.
No, she's just gonna get there and she's gonna get tore up.
Be that as it may, your mama should still be there.
No, I don't think you understand. She's gonna have to sit there and listen to the Delacroix, the Percy, and the DA.
Excuse me for butting in. She's your mama, Matt. Your mama. It's gonna be tough for her, but I think she should have the chance to speak for her child if she wants to.
She's just gonna blubber her head off.
Yeah, but she has the right to do that. What if you die and she didn't have the chance to speak for you? Don't you think that's gonna eat at her? Don't you think she's always gonna wonder if she could have saved you?
Yeah, I'll think about it. I just want you all to know, I got my pride to think about. I ain't kissing nobody's ass, and I ain't kissing ass in front of no one.
I took a drive a couple days later on Easter Sunday to visit Matt's mother. Yes? Mrs. Poncelet. No! Mrs. Poncelet. Don't live here. Who is it? My name's Sister Prejean. I know your son. My son don't know any sisters. What do you want? I just want to talk. Can you open up the door? You really a sister? Yes. You're not from the TV? No. You sure? Yes.